appreciation for our Minister, Inkosi Mzamo Buthelezi, and Deputy Minister, Ms. Pinky Kekana, for making time to brief us today. Colleagues, the program is not going to be complicated. We are just going to take the address by the Minister, and then after that we will open for questions. So at this time, I'm honored to invite our Minister to come and address the media. Thanks.
Good morning, Sanbonan.
Morning.
Yeah, this is quite a sad day here. We all seem tired. Thank you very much, Mr. Mushi, for the opportunity, and I want to greet the Deputy Minister respectfully, Ms. Pinky Kekana, and all members of the media who are present here today. I do want to thank you for joining us on this day as we launch the International Anti-Corruption Day. Our launch, of course, this morning is more than just a day of observing the International Anti-Corruption Day, which is observed globally, but it is a reaffirmation of our national mandate and commitment to confront and tackle the persistent threat that continues to erode our hard-earned democracy. Corruption, colleagues, remains a deeply entrenched challenge. It spans from misappropriation of funds, nepotism, and ethical failures within our system. It thrives where government is weak, where financial controls are compromised, and where accountability is absent. Unfortunately, consequences are equally far-reaching as they diminish trust, compromising service delivery and resulting in economic stagnation that ends up depriving South Africans of opportunities and dignity. Our country, South Africa, has moved from addressing statements of intent as government, and we've reached an inflection point where our citizens expect a capable and ethical state. Since ratification of the United Nations Convention against Anti-Corruption, South Africa has committed to a comprehensive responses. Our constitution, on the other hand, our legislative frameworks and institutional architecture of our law enforcement agencies, as well as our oversight bodies, all speak to this commitment, and they carry a very clear mandate to prevent, detect, and prosecute corruption decisively. Our launch today could not have happened at a better time. This year alone has been a strategic inflection point for the country's global leadership on anti-corruption, as we launch this day building on the strong momentum generated on the global stage, where our country successfully hosted the Group of 20 Summit. I must say, Deputy Minister, that our successful hosting of the G20 demonstrated that indeed South Africa has abilities to convene, to lead, and to deliver on complex multilateral reforms. The G20 positioned our nation as a credible leader on governance and institutional reforms. And I must mention that one of the critical pillars of that leadership was the work of the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group that we delivered successfully, working together with the Special Investigating Unit. The Anti-Corruption Working Group did not only reaffirm our commitment to fight corruption, but also demonstrated the same commitment by ensuring that the work of the Anti-Corruption Working Group finds itself in the final leaders' declaration. I must also say that our stewardship of this working group delivered tangible impacts, such as showcasing our country's executive capability, as well as the advancement of global standard for public procurement, the strengthening of cross-border cooperation on assets recovery and anti-money laundering. There were also international consensus on digital integrity and data transparency. Member states, again, were aligned on the assertive approach that we took as a country to combat illicit financial flows. Therefore, today's launch of the International Anti-Corruption Day marks a move towards a cleaner and an accountable state. The key reforms outlined in the deliverables of the G20, which were seized with as a country, included a comprehensive public sector ethics framework, tightening codes of conduct, and enforcing mandatory conflicts of interest disclosure. These reforms include identifying two critical mechanisms such as lifestyle audits and the establishment of a central register for individuals who have been found guilty of corruption. This central register will function as a national integrity barometer and a mechanism that ensures that repeat offenders do not re-enter positions of influence within government and or in the supply chain. Both lifestyle audit and the offender register represent a decisive shift from reactive interventions to preventative governance. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not cosmetic endeavors, but they are measures that speaks to our commitment to clean administration, disciplined leadership, and a public service where ethical behavior is the baseline and not an exception. These reforms include a streamlined, technologically driven procurement systems that enhances transparency and eliminate opportunities for manipulation. They include a modernized whistleblower protection mechanisms that prioritizes safety, unanimity, and a follow-through. They represent a structural realignment of how government operates, how public resources are safeguarded, and how accountability is enforced at every level of administration. For South Africans, this launch somehow signifies a renewed contract of trust. It even signals that government is not only responding to corruption, but is proactively building firewalls against it. Therefore, this widens the space for ethical leadership and closes the space for wrongdoing in the government. In government. Ladies and gentlemen, as we mark the International Anti-Corruption Day, our message is direct, and that is corruption is a threat to economic competitiveness. It's a social destabilizer and a direct assault on the developmental aspirations of our people. Therefore, it will be confronted, dismantled, and be uprooted from our systems, whether it manifests in boardrooms, municipal offices, or even in the global networks. And this shall be implemented by closing historical loopholes within our systems, by doubling down on consequence management, by tightening procurement governance, by strengthening investigative capacity, and by building a public service culture that is anchored in ethics, accountability, and performance discipline. South Africa has stepped forward as a nation that not only participates in global anti-corruption efforts, but one that leads them. Therefore, our reforms do strengthen our alignment with international best practices that ensures our public institutions remain fit for purpose and for future generations. Members of the media, the fight against corruption is never a short-term campaign, but a long-term national commitment that demands consistency, vigilance, and collective ownership. We therefore thank the people of South Africa for their resilience, vigilance, and insistence on ethical government. We also thank our partners from both international and local for their continued support and collaboration. I must proudly say, Deputy Minister, that this launch, as I said earlier on, that is not just an observation of the International Anti-Corruption Day, but it's our commitment to people of this country, a commitment to the future where integrity is standard, where accountability is guaranteed, and where South Africans act with honor. I thank you so much.
Thanks, Minister, for the address. Members of the media, I think we can now open for questions. We know that we have some members who are joining us online. So let's see by show of hands and identify yourself and your media house. Okay, ma'am. Go. That's IT there.
Morning, Minister. So my name is Yamtanda Kapa from 24. I just have a couple of questions really. I'll start with the lifestyle audits. Could you please elaborate what exactly will it look like? Are we talking about working with forensic law firms? Please tangibly tell us what exactly does it look like? And then, Minister, I know that also with the offender, the central offender register of individuals who have been found guilty of corruption also can do that. And then last year, Minister, you spoke about suspended officials and the fact that you want them to come back to work and work in other units so that investigations can continue. But I know that there are officials who still stay on suspension for more than 2 years, up to 5 years. How are you actually monitoring that and making sure that institutions are keeping up with that act? Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a round and then we'll allow Minister to. But Tabile and Saki are there online.
I don't have questions on this one.
There's no questions on this side. I would have thought this, because media has been following us on these questions, but it's fine. Let's allow Minister to respond to those two questions.
Thank you. I managed to, if I miss any question, you will remind me. But the first question, Samtanda, which relates to the issue of lifestyle audit. Lifestyle audit is one of the instruments that we use to detect if our servants, public servants, are involved in any corrupt activity, where first and foremost it's got 3 phases. Firstly, you've got the e-disclosure, where people will disclose as to what assets do they have. So once that process has been done, then we go to the second one, where there are reviews, checking now whatever that the particular employee has disclosed, whether it is indeed aligned with what the person has. For example, Mzamo may disclose that I've got 2 cars and give their registration and all that. But when you go to the Department of Transport to check, that you'll find that there are 5 cars that are registered on my name. So that is the second step then. If there is such, because you must understand that these processes, this one leads to the other. Once therefore discover that there is an extra information that we get from our external sources, whether you have declared one house and when we consult the deeds office, it shows that you've got another properties, then we call you back to explain that. Because sometimes when people are disclosing information and we pick up that there's extra that we are able to pick up on our own, it does not necessarily mean that those people are actually conflicted or they have committed any wrongdoing. We must just do the whole process. Then when you further dig deeper, you will find that Mzamo indeed has 5 cars, but these other 3 he no longer uses. They are 20 years old, but he didn't actually deregister them on his name. So that gets cleared, and you find that the person indeed was correct to say, I've got 2. Secondly, when therefore there are some red flags, there is an unexplained wealth which we discover, and you can't tell us where you get that wealth, then that is where the issue of investigation comes in now, where we follow all those things through. But here in this regard, we have a challenge as government because we do not have enough investigators who are actually skilled and trained to do this work. That is why some department will actually rely on the investigative unit, which comes at a reasonably high, what you call, amount. That is why, therefore, as Department of Public Service, we have decided that we need to put together a pool of investigators, so that even those departments that does not have investigators, they can rely on our resource to help them to just do that. So if, therefore, an investigation comes and confirm that indeed you have unexplained wealth, then it will depend what kind of evidence that is brought forth. If, therefore, it means that you need to be reported to the police, and then the law takes its course in that process, we'll do that, while as department also do their own consequence management in terms of their own, what to call, legislation. The issue, therefore, of offenders who are asked to come back, you will remember that the government has had a challenge where we have had a number of people who are sitting at home not doing anything but getting paid. So this was just one of those mechanisms to control the wasteful expenditure, where we pay salaries to people who are not active in the employment. So we are saying, therefore, if a person has committed an offense and suspended, better, instead of sending that person home, put that person, remove him from that particular work, and then put them elsewhere where they can continue to work and earn their salaries having worked, as opposed to chasing them back home. For example, if you are working in the supply chain and you've been involved in some kind of fraud and corruption there, better you are taken away from that and you are put where there is zero risk of you recommitting that kind of offense while the process of consequence management is taking its course. Then if you are found guilty, therefore the issue of the central register come into play, where you will be recorded there, so that whenever you go and you ask for employment, you must be checked or verified against that register. If you've been found to be dismissed as a result of all these shenanigans, then you'll never come back to the public space. I'm not sure what was the other one, if there was.
Okay, colleagues, let's check if there's a second round. And it's online still also. Yeah. Hi, ma'am.
I can go again.
Yeah.
Minister and Deputy Minister, just about the whistleblower protection.
We are coming forward with modernized whistleblower protection mechanisms. I think right now we are seeing a lot of people dying whilst going on with audits, for example. I mean, the situation in Ekurhuleni. Could you talk to us more about that? Just an update, and also what exactly are you doing in that regard? And there are two things happening right now. It's the Mahlanga Commission and it's the ad hoc committee in Parliament. Is there anything that you are doing in real time with information that is coming out of those two platforms as the PSA? Thank you.
Okay.
The public service.
The PSA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Will that be the last questions? Nothing. Nothing.
Thank you very much again, Samtanda. Maybe the technical staff will also intervene in case they've discovered there are some gaps. Firstly, what are we doing with what is transpiring in the Mahlanga and all the other commissions real time? I think those parliament process is a process on its own, the commission is a process on its own. So as the PSA, we are just following through as to what is happening. We will wait until these two, what you call processes, conclude their work, because it will be prematurely for us to try to do something while the process is still unfolding. That's the first part. So the issue of whistleblower protection, as I said, that is one area that as government we are paying serious attention to, because you will understand the importance of whistleblower, that without people who blows the whistle, we may not know as to what is happening in the government in as far as corruption is concerned. So these are the people who are actually exposing wrongdoings at their very own personal cost. So we are very serious in terms of protecting them. However, what we are also trying to request or ask from the public is that whoever blow the whistle, they must help us as government by cooperating with us, because you will find that, which is not always the case, that some people who get killed in the process of investigation is that the process itself of whistleblower protection is a very detailed process. Sometimes people are taken away completely from their normal lives and are kept somewhere. They are given even a different identity, which some do not really appreciate that, because we are social beings naturally. So we find that some people will say, no, I don't think there's so much risk, and then not actually want to cooperate with us as government, or sometimes they'll be taken there and feel that, no, it's too much for us, I can't be living in isolation, and then they will opt out of the process, which therefore exposes them into a big risk. But what we can confirm is that government has all the systems. The Department of Justice is doing a great deal in this regard to make sure that these people are protected. While protecting them, we're also trying to make sure that we fast-track the process of prosecution, because the longer it takes for people to face the all might of law, then that's where the problem becomes, therefore, to say the sooner we finalize those cases and we send to jail those that are found to have committed wrongdoings, the better for even those that need protection. If I'm satisfying your question. Thanks.
Okay. Minister, I have a question that has come through for DM, and then it's around ghost workers. That what are we doing around ghost workers? DM?
Thank you very much, and good morning to Minister and media houses that are here. I think the launch by the Minister today, it's a comprehensive approach to deal with issues of crime and corruption in the public service. And amongst them, one of it is the issue of ghost workers, which Parliament and ourselves are working very close to. And the Minister of Treasury and our Minister are both at the center of it. So what we have done through Minister Buthelezi was that individual departments should take charge and make sure that all public servants do verification process in their own departments. There are timelines linked to that. By end of this financial year that we are in, meaning around March, we should be able to have cleared some of those things. So Minister will from time to time talk to his colleagues through a circular, and we are not going to wait until the end of March. Minister will do a reminder to all the departments to say, we hope that the process of verification is going on well, because at the end, we should be able to reconcile those numbers with what Treasury is disbursing as personnel expenditure for various departments, and then reconcile, and then be able to report back to Parliament on how far we have gone. So it's an ongoing process, but it's linked to timelines. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think we have one more last question, and it's on the employment of foreign nationals. I'm going to ask Dr. Anusha to respond, if it's okay, Minister.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Dr. Anusha, you want to come here?
Find it quickly. Honorable Shenge, Honorable Deputy Minister, colleagues from the Media House, a very good morning to you, and thank you very much for giving the opportunity for the Department of Public Service and Administration and our ministry to brief you this morning. One of the key critical things, as the Minister and the DM has already indicated, is that as the DPSA, we have a zero tolerance for any fraud, corruption. What we do advocate as the DPSA always is ethics and integrity and accountable behavior. So when it comes to the employment of foreign nationals, what we must understand is that ensuring integrity and fairness in public service appointments is fundamental to building a capable and a trusted state. To date, foreign nationals only constitute a small amount of 0.44% of the public service, and all such appointments are fully compliant with the Public Service Act, the Public Service Regulations, and the Immigration Act of our country. So recruitment processes prioritize South African citizens, and that is something we want to emphasize as the government, as the state, and as our ministry, to say that recruitment processes will always prioritize South African citizens, with foreign nationals appointed strictly in instances where their expertise is required to either strengthen institutional capacity or where we have verified skills shortages according to the Department of Home Affairs and the Department of Employment and Labor, Data and Statistics. Now, by upholding transparent and lawful appointment practices, we as the government and as the DPSA reinforce merit-based recruitment and safeguard the professionalism and the credibility of our public institutions. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, as the public service, we are not an island. We also have relationships with every country across the world. As the Honourable Minister has indicated, one such signal is the way we've managed the group of G20 or the G20 summit. And that indicates that we cannot exclude, due to the various treaties and the sovereignty of our country, when it comes to the employment of foreign nationals. But we do give you assurance that our country will always prioritize our local talent. We thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Doctor, and thanks, Minister and DM. We have a last one that talks about the implementation of ethics management maturity assessment tool across departments. Dr. Solomon, ethics management strategy.
Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, Acting DG and members of the media. As part of the professionalisation drive of the work that we want to do, especially tying that into, with the professionalisation framework, we have focused now on strengthening the ethics officers and the work that they do in the departments, because they must act as the conscience of the departments. So the one work that we've worked with National School of Government is to develop an EMMA tool. That is now the Ethics Maturity Model tool, where we will take the ethics officers through the process of ethics management, giving them a toolkit where they work on an Excel spreadsheet, looking at what is required to manage ethics, starting from the ethics risks management, then taking them through all the legislations that's in place to help guide them through this process. And then what we will do is to monitor this every 6 months to every year to see whether there is an increase, not only in ethics awareness, but also if ethics actually then takes impact in the different departments. So this is now already piloted. We started with the IPIT and with SAPS and a number of other provincial departments in the Gauteng area. And this project is now totally ready to roll out. So from the new financial year, it will be ready for rollout, and then we will start monitoring to make sure that the ethics are getting the attention that it should, that we don't wait until things are already at a stage where there's corruption and fraud, but that we do the preventative work as that the Minister indicated to this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, colleagues. Can we check again for the last time if we've got online questions or from the floor? Okay, nothing. In that case, I will thank the Minister and the Deputy Minister, and I forgot our acting DG, Ms. Linda Tlutla. I will then thank them, and then thank you, members of the media and colleagues, for attending the briefing. Thank you.